After 10 years of a secret relationship with Dexter Blackwood, he shockingly announced our relationship on social media, something he never does. After all the ups and downs, it's still you. The picture shows him kissing a woman in a bar. I know this woman. She's his first love who broke up with him to study abroad. Our mutual friends commented below, congratulating Dexter. Congrats, Dexter. After 10 years of waiting, you've finally found something. I'm going to your wedding to celebrate. I hope your little niece won't see this post. She'd be heartbroken. I chuckled at myself and gave him a thumbs up. The next moment, Dexter's post vanished from the feed like a flash. Soon after, I got a message from Dexter apologizing. That post was something a friend made him share after he lost a bet. I didn't reply. I just calmly called my mom. Mom, I agreed to the marriage with the Caldwell family. Hearing this, my mom couldn't believe it and asked again, are you sure you've thought this through? The Caldwell family set a tight wedding date, and once you agree, there's no turning back. I let out a sound, and my mom fell silent right away. It seemed like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she just said, make sure to say goodbye to Dexter. I'll be picking you up in 2 days. Dexter is an orphan my mom took in, and he's 20 years younger than her, so she raised him like a little brother. To repay her, he raised me himself and never let me suffer a bit, treating me like his most prized possession. Over time, I developed feelings for him that were different. At first, he didn't accept my love and even tried to keep his distance. That all changed when he got drunk one day, stumbled over, and knocked me down, which kicked off our secret romance. To stay by his side, I'd rather live in a city 800 kilometers away from home than marry into the Caldwell family. My mom tried to convince me a few times, but when that didn't work, she was ready to call off the wedding. Little did she know I would suddenly change my mind. The moment I hung up the phone, Dexter came back. He stepped through the door and quickly walked up to me, a flicker of tension in his eyes. Why haven't you responded to my messages? Are you angry? That photo on social media is edited, so don't take it seriously. I haven't been with her in 10 years. He spoke with such sincerity that it seemed genuine, but I didn't believe a word of it. Then he pulled out a bouquet of roses and a cake, offering them to me with a hopeful look. I ordered this birthday cake just for you. Happy birthday, my love. Let me know what your wish is this year, and I can help make it happen. In the past, I might have been moved by this, but now all I feel is a deep sadness. I wanted to tell him about going home, but he interrupted me. I could smell the alcohol on me, so I decided to take a shower first. Dexter knows I hate the smell of booze. Every time I drink and come home, my first stop is always the shower. Soon, I could hear the sound of running water from the bathroom, and Dexter's phone, which he had left on the sofa, buzzed a few times. I don't usually invade other people's privacy, but I couldn't help but be curious and opened his phone. The unlock code was still my birthday, and the wallpaper was too. Over the years, besides not having a label, Dexter has done almost everything a boyfriend should do, even more caring than a typical boyfriend. I thought he was just hesitant to define our relationship because it felt wrong, but now I realize he was actually afraid that his first love, Luna, would reject him if she found out he was dating. When I opened his WeChat, the first thing I saw was Luna pinned at the top. Dexter, I had a great time tonight. I won't leave you again this time. I want to marry you. If you're thinking the same thing, come find me at our usual spot, okay? When Dexter came out, I had already put candles in the cake. He walked over, wiping his hair, wondering why I didn't wait for him. Then he glanced at his phone, paused as he was about to sit down, and quickly stood up again. Fiona, there's a problem with the new project. I'm going to handle it, and I'll make a wish when I get back. He didn't even change his expression when he lied, and he gently rubbed my head for reassurance before turning around and walking away without a glance back. I knew he wouldn't come back, but I stubbornly waited until midnight. When the clock struck, Dexter still didn't show up. Instead, I saw a picture on Luna's social media of him washing her feet. I took the candle out, tossed the whole cake along with the bouquet of roses into the trash. From now on, I don't want either this relationship or Dexter. The next day, I handed in my resignation at work. When HR saw I was Dexter's niece, they hesitated to approve it. Just as they were about to call Dexter, he walked in with Luna. When he saw my resignation, his expression changed slightly, like he was thinking, finally, you get it. I had told him before that working isn't a joke, and if he couldn't handle it, he'd come to realize it sooner or later. Your resignation is approved. From now on, just stay home. Whatever you want or wherever you want to go, Uncle will make it happen, Luna said with a smile as she linked her arm with Dexter's, taking on a more mature role. Your uncle is usually busy, so you can talk to me, your soon-to-be aunt. She stressed the last 3 words, clearly marking her territory. I looked up at Dexter, and he avoided my gaze, not daring to meet my eyes. I smiled sarcastically, about to walk away, but Luna tripped me hard, causing me to stumble forward. Dexter instinctively tried to help me, but Luna pulled him back, and I ended up falling to the ground in an awkward heap. The ridiculous scene left the people around us laughing and shaking their heads. I glanced down at my knee, which was already bruised. A wave of intense humiliation nearly overwhelmed me as I got up, feeling annoyed, and asked Luna, "Why did you trip me? What are you talking about? I've been standing here the whole time and haven't moved at all." Just because you're Dexter's niece doesn't mean you can make assumptions. Luna looked really wronged, and she moved behind Dexter, feeling upset. Dexter frowned a bit and spoke up for her. "Luna's not that kind of person, you might have misunderstood." The way everyone around me looked at me suddenly changed. I looked at Dexter, who used to stand up for me no matter the reason whenever I faced any injustice. Now, he was denying everything for another woman, and my heart shattered. I tried to suppress my emotions, gave Dexter one last deep glance, and left that chaotic place. Not long after I stepped out of the office, my colleague Maya messaged me, inviting me to join today's team building event. Maya is my best friend here, and the thought of not seeing her much in the future made me accept her invitation. It felt like a farewell. In the evening, as I got out of the car, I ran into Dexter, who had arrived at the same time. His gaze landed on my knee, his brow slightly furrowed. "Did you hurt it when you fell this morning?" I responded with a quiet "huh," wanting to leave, but he picked me up and set me down in the backseat of the car. "You have a tendency to scar, so we need to take care of this. Let me put some medicine on it." Ever since I was a kid, a little bump or scrape would leave a mark on me for a long time, so Dexter developed a habit of carrying ointment everywhere. As I watched him carefully applying the medicine, something deep inside me felt like it got poked hard, sending a wave of subtle pain through me. It's hard to imagine that he can be so good to me while also being so good to Luna, even better than he is to me. "You've been getting colder towards me lately." After applying the medicine, Dexter suddenly asked this. "Is it because of Luna? I'm just friends with her now. Taking her to the company was only because she needs a job. I don't have any feelings for her anymore." Without feelings, we're still holding hands. Without feelings, he's still calling himself my uncle. Yet when it came down to it, he chose to defend Luna right away. I'm starting to find it hard to understand this man I've loved for 10 years. When Dexter brought me into the private room, my coworkers were gathered together playing Truth or Dare. They came up to us to say hi when they saw me and Dexter. Luna was there too, and seeing me close to Dexter, her resentment was almost spilling over. At that moment, a male coworker suddenly asked whose turn it was for the dare, and it seemed to be Luna's, right? Just pick any opposite gender person here and kiss them for 30 seconds. I looked at Dexter, and he frowned with displeasure. Was this punishment going too far? But Luna shook her head and smiled, saying she thought it was great. After that, she shyly sat next to the male colleague who had just spoken and leaned in to kiss him. Just as their lips were about to meet, I felt a cold breeze rush by me. Dexter sprinted past me and shoved that male colleague aside. Then he grabbed Luna's chin and kissed her fiercely, like it was some sort of punishment. The room erupted in cheers and shouts. Watching them kiss like that felt like a bucket of cold water poured over me. It chilled me to the core. I couldn't bear to look any longer, so I turned and bolted out of the room. Just as I got outside, I heard Dexter calling out behind me. "Fiona, let me explain. Luna and I are not what you think." I hurried my pace, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. Dexter picked up his pace too, blocking my way. He grabbed my shoulder to stop me, red-eyed as he tried to explain what just happened. Before he could finish, I heard a scream behind me. I turned to see Luna had caught up but twisted her ankle and fallen to the ground. She looked pitifully at Dexter and said, "Dexter, it hurts so much." I thought Dexter would run off to her again like he did before, but he didn't. He just glanced at Luna and then looked away, sincerely explaining to me that it was just a moment of impulse and that he didn't really want to get involved with her. He asked if I could forgive him. I pushed down my swirling emotions and calmly replied, "You're my uncle. You can choose who you want to get tangled up with, and I have no right to tell you what to do." Dexter's expression froze, and he tightened his grip on my shoulders, angry as he said, "So what does the last 10 years mean to you?" I said, "Family." I pushed his hand away and turned to walk off. But Dexter went wild again, lifting me up and carrying me to a deserted corner. He pinned me against the wall, his big hand gripping my waist, almost gritting his teeth as he said he wanted to see who would treat their niece this way. Just as he leaned in to kiss me, I slapped him hard, cutting him off. I bit my lip, wanting to tell him that I was getting married and didn't want to get involved with him anymore, but my phone suddenly vibrated, interrupting me. Dexter pulled out his phone and frowned, then looked up at me and said something happened in the private room, and he was going to check it out. Then he just walked off. He was lying to me. It was clear Luna had sent him a photo of her bleeding ankle, but he said it was about the private room. I knew what would happen when he went to find Luna, but I still followed Dexter. When Dexter found Luna, she was sitting in the car, taking care of her wound. The moment she saw Dexter, it was like finding a safe haven, and tears streamed down her face. Dexter's heart melted instantly, and he pulled Luna into his arms to comfort her. "Dexter, I thought you didn't care about me anymore." "How could I? I wouldn't want to lose you for anything. You know you're the one I love the most. Then why don't you want to touch me? Don't you want to marry me anymore? Are you having second thoughts?" Luna looked up at him, her eyes red. I couldn't see Dexter's expression from a distance, but the next moment, when Luna leaned in to kiss him, he didn't push her away. Instead, he held the back of her head and deepened the kiss. Soon enough, the car started to shake rhythmically, and through the glass, I could clearly see the two of them tangled up together. I remember the look on Dexter's face when he was lost in the moment, just like now. At that moment, my mom sent me a text. "Hey, sweetie, I'm here. Have you packed your bags? Let's head home. We won't catch up with your uncle. I'm in a hurry." I felt my hand shake a little as I held my phone, and I looked up at the car that was shaking more and more, filled with disappointment. All the remaining hope I had for Dexter vanished in that instant. "Dexter, I don't want you anymore." When I returned to my hometown with my mom, it was already morning. After a long day of traveling, I fell asleep shortly after getting in the car. When I woke up and checked my phone, I saw that Dexter had called me over 30 times. I tried to ignore it, but then he called again a moment later. "Fiona, where have you been? Why won't you answer my calls?" As soon as I picked up, Dexter's worried voice came through. I can't believe he had fun with Luna all night and still remembered me. I looked up at the luxurious Blackwood family mansion in front of me and said honestly, I went home. "Which home?" "The Blackwood family." I ate and was about to hang up when I heard him say, "Why didn't you tell me you were going back? You just stay home and don't run around. I'll come to see you and your sister in a few days. For now, don't mention our situation to your sister. I'm worried she won't take it well, and I'll find a chance to explain things to her later." The Blackwood family is known for being an aristocratic lineage, but the inheritance is passed down through females only, and the descendants must carry the Blackwood name. Since my mother is the eldest, she naturally sees herself as the heir to the Blackwood family. She has always been decisive and ruthless in her actions, and if she finds out that Dexter deceived me in matters of the heart, he'll be in serious trouble. Dexter used to say he would find a way to explain things to my mother, and I believed him, thinking he was genuinely afraid of making her angry, which is why he was delaying. Now I realize he was just wasting my time and never really thought about being in a relationship with me. What I used to see as the purest love has turned into a joke after everything that's happened. The wedding between the Blackwood family and the Caldwell family is set for 5 days from now. To speed things up, my mom took me to take wedding photos that same day. When we got to the location, the Caldwell family was still stuck in traffic, so my mom had me try on wedding dresses first. I used to dream about the day I would wear a wedding dress to marry Dexter and be with him for life, but when I actually put on that pure white dress, I felt not a spark of joy. I'm not marrying someone I love, and he's a total womanizer, always surrounded by women. My mom immediately noticed something was off and gently asked, "Sweetheart, why do you look so glum? Don't you want to marry Ethan?" She told me not to listen to the rumors about him being a playboy, saying she did some digging and that he's more reliable than any man. She promised that marrying him would only bring sweetness, no bitterness. I trust my mom's judgment, but the thought of spending my life with someone I don't love is still so suffocating. Come on, smile for me. I want to take a picture to show Uncle and Aunt how beautiful you look in your wedding dress. My mom pulled out her phone and wanted to take a picture of me, so I smiled for the camera. After that, she shared the photo in the Blackwood family group chat, and all the relatives started congratulating me. Dexter saw it too, and he sent a confused question mark. A second later, his call came through. I thought I told you not to mention our situation to your sister for now. What do you mean by that? You just got back and you're already taking wedding photos? Is this some kind of pressure to get married? Dexter rarely sounded upset, as if taking wedding photos was an unforgivable sin. I smiled lightly and said, Uncle, you've misunderstood. I'm taking wedding photos because I'm getting married in 3 days. Make sure to come celebrate with me. Dexter clearly didn't believe me. Fiona, stop joking around. Who else could you possibly marry besides me? Take down those wedding photos, and wait for me to come find you. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him anymore, so I hung up the phone. Just then, the Caldwell family showed up, with my uncle and aunt walking over with smiles, followed by a young man. I figured he must be Ethan. Contrary to what I heard, he was actually quite handsome, but he didn't seem all that superficial, or maybe he was just putting on an act. After a quick round of introductions, we started taking wedding photos. Because we weren't familiar with each other, both Ethan and I felt a bit awkward and couldn't get close, leaving the photographer unsure of how to shoot. In the end, my mom couldn't stand it anymore and came over to direct us. She placed Ethan's hand on my waist and made sure to spread his fingers so his palm could hold my waist. Then she pushed me into his embrace, wrapping me up in his warm chest. It looked like we were a couple, and she told us to smile during the photos, to make sure our smiles were sweet. Under my mom's guidance, the wedding photos were finally done. I took a sip of water. Just as I sat down to rest, Ethan handed me a bottle of water. I nodded, took the bottle, and had a sip. Seeing that, Ethan asked, I know you don't like me. You could easily back out of the engagement. Why don't you? I didn't answer him. Instead, I asked, what about you? Why don't you back off? I only played with Ethan when we were kids. After Dexter came to my house, I slowly lost touch with him until we completely stopped communicating. I don't believe he likes me. Ethan was thrown off by my question, and he pressed his lips together without saying a word. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I actually saw shyness in his eyes. For 3 whole days, I was busy dealing with wedding stuff and barely had time to check my phone. That's when I realized Dexter had been updating me the whole time. Hey baby, I'm in a meeting. Just had lunch. Have you eaten yet? The project hit a snag, and I'll be working late today, so remember to get to bed early. I didn't respond to any of that, but he kept sending me messages anyway. He probably thinks he's being clever and that I wouldn't catch on, but little does he know, I've already figured everything out from Luna's Weibo updates. When he mentioned the meeting, he had just finished getting cozy with Luna and was on his way to get dressed. When he asked about dinner, he had just come out of my favorite sushi place with her. He was picking out a wedding dress with Luna when he said he had to work late. Every time he checked in with me, he was really with Luna. I never expected that their wedding date was the same as mine. To keep it from me, he didn't tell his family about the wedding. He just invited some coworkers and his buddies. I found out about it thanks to Luna. She somehow got my number, added me on WeChat, and sent the invitation to my phone. Dexter said I didn't have to call you, but since you're his niece, I thought it was necessary, so I had an extra invitation sent your way. Don't forget to come and celebrate. I didn't reply, just put my phone down and kept busy. On the wedding day, I was up early getting ready. Once everything was set, I hopped in the wedding car to head to the venue. Since the Blackwood family is one of the top families in the capital, it made sense to have more people know about this big union, so the wedding was live-streamed on big screens and various platforms. Not long after the live stream started, Dexter messaged me. Dexter Sterling, are you crazy? Why are you going live saying you want to get married? Cut it out, okay? Just shut down the stream. If you really feel that way about me, I'll come over tomorrow morning. I've been ignoring the messages you sent me these past few days, but your constant texts are making me feel harassed, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I replied to you. What does my getting married have to do with you? Instead of worrying about my stuff, you should focus on your own wedding. Don't keep Luna waiting. You already heard? Dexter seemed surprised that news of his marriage reached me. He explained that my marriage to Luna is just a political alliance. It's not what you think. Even now, Dexter is still lying, completely ruining my image of him. I can't help but wonder how many lies he must have told me over our 10 years together. I wasn't planning to respond to him anymore, but then he sent me another message. So today you're intentionally live streaming your wedding to steal someone's thunder? Stop messing around, okay? Just shut off the stream. If your sister finds out you're doing this, she's going to be really mad. I didn't want to deal with him anymore, so I quickly blocked and deleted him. Without Dexter's annoying messages, my world felt a lot quieter. Soon, the car stopped at the wedding venue entrance. After getting out, my mom helped me walk into the ceremony. It just clicked that my mom never told Dexter about the wedding, which struck me as odd. Even though Dexter isn't her biological brother, she treats him well and keeps him in the loop about everything. But she never mentioned something as big as my wedding to him. The only thing he got was that wedding dress photo posted in the Blackwood family group. It seemed like she could tell I was confused, so she explained, asking if I was curious why I didn't invite Dexter. She actually knows about the situation between us. Mom thought I mentioned marriage because we had a fight, but later I learned it was because his first love came back. If you two truly love each other, Mom would accept you being together. But Dexter has been wishy-washy, and he doesn't deserve to be near you, let alone come to your wedding. Hearing the explanation finally made it clear to me. Of course, my mom is so smart, how could she not notice what was going on between Dexter and me all these years? Dexter isn't dumb either. He probably figured out what my mom meant long ago, but in his heart, he's only ever had eyes for his first love and sees me as just a distraction. As I walked into the hall, the live stream picked up Ethan, dressed in his groom's outfit, and the online audience went wild. They kept saying how well-matched we are, saying that the union of our two families is like a powerful alliance. Dexter seemed to have caught the live stream, but since he couldn't get in touch with me, he reached out to my mom instead. She only took a quick look and hung up on him, her anger clear as day. The wedding was starting soon, and with the officiant guiding us, Ethan and I completed our vows. Just as we were about to exchange rings, an unexpected guest showed up. Dexter Blackwood, wearing the groom's badge, stood at the entrance, clearly out of breath as if he had sprinted over. I was a bit taken aback. Why was he crashing my wedding instead of focusing on marrying Luna? Fiona, are you really going to marry Ethan? Dexter's eyes were red as he pointed at Ethan and asked me, hurt. I nodded and linked my arm with Ethan's. Yeah, Uncle, are you really here just to bless me and ignore your own wedding? The people around us shot curious looks at Dexter, and even the live camera turned to him. Dexter stared intensely at my hand linked with Ethan's, almost driven to madness with jealousy. You love me, not him. Can you really be happy marrying him? As soon as those words were said, the whole place went silent. The viewers in the live stream went wild, starting to speculate about the ups and downs of my relationship with Dexter. My mom's face turned dark immediately. She nodded at the bodyguard next to her, and the two bodyguards moved in to grab Dexter and drag him away. Dexter tried to struggle, but the bodyguards were big and strong, and he simply couldn't compete. I watched them disappear and felt a mix of emotions inside. But the wedding kept going, and I had to put on a brave face. After the ceremony, my mom planned to drive me and Ethan to our new home. Just as the car started moving, Dexter appeared out of nowhere, covered in blood, blocking our way. He dropped to his knees, practically begging, Fiona, I was wrong. I know I messed up. I shouldn't have flirted with Luna while I was with you, and I definitely shouldn't have married her. I get it now. Please forgive me. Don't go with Ethan. Mom's face darkened, and she wanted to call someone to take care of Dexter, but I stopped her. Mom, let me handle it. I actually have something to return to him. I was worried that if the fight continued, Dexter might end up dead, and I feared his death would bring my mom bad news. To my surprise, Ethan also got out of the car and said, I'll come with you. I nodded in response and walked toward Dexter. Fiona, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I shouldn't have tangled things up with Luna. I've realized that now, and I'll be cutting ties with her. Can you come back? I really can't live without you. As soon as you return, I'll make it official. No matter what anyone else says, I won't care anymore. Dexter used to tell me, even if we weren't together, being involved looked bad on paper, and if others found out, it would be gossip fodder. I believed him until I later found out that people actually could accept it. That's when I realized all the talk about being immoral was just an excuse Dexter used to deceive me. I looked into his tearful eyes, took off the bracelet from my wrist, and tossed it into his arms. This is the token of our love you gave me, and I forgot to return it to you. We're done, so please be good with Luna and stop bothering me. After saying that, I turned to leave, but Dexter grabbed my ankle. Fiona, don't be so harsh, okay? Just give me one more chance. Without waiting for my response, Ethan kicked his hand away and pulled me into his arms, grumbling, "Isn't it a bit much to be stealing my girl right in front of me? Today is my wedding day, and I really don't want to get into any conflict with anyone, so it's better if you just leave." After saying that, he ignored Dexter's reaction, took my hand, and got back in the car. My mom saw this and turned the car around to avoid Dexter. Dexter tried to catch up, but the bodyguards behind him stopped him, leaving him helplessly watching me drive away. When we got home, it was almost midnight. My mom didn't want to hold us up, so she left right away. In that big house, it was just Ethan and me, and the mood got really awkward. Ethan, feeling a bit shy, said, "I'll go run a bath for you." After I finished my shower, I was ready to face what was coming next, but then Ethan picked up his pillow and said, "You take the bed, I'll sleep on the couch." He started to head for the couch, and I quickly grabbed his shirt to stop him. Ethan paused for a moment and looked at me with confusion. I bit my lip and awkwardly said, "We're legally married now, so why would we sleep in separate beds? People will laugh at us if they find out. Aren't you afraid of what I might do to you?" Ethan joked back, amused by my reaction. I instantly understood what he meant, and my face turned bright red. Ethan laughed even harder when he saw that, ruffling my hair and teasing, "Just kidding, so let's sleep together." Once we lay down on the bed, we each took our own side, like there was an invisible line keeping us apart. I heard Ethan softly call my name. When I didn't respond, he quietly moved closer and wrapped his arms around me. But that's all he did, just held me. I was a bit surprised. It seemed like the playboy everyone talked about wasn't exactly what he seemed. Over the next few days, I got along pretty well with Ethan, which changed how I saw him. I didn't expect Dexter to reach out to me again. It happened to be a day when Ethan was out, and Dexter was waiting for me at the front door, his eyes red. He said, "Fiona, we were together for 10 years. Can you really just throw everything away to start fresh? I've cut ties with Luna, and there won't be any more contact. Can you get a divorce from Ethan and come back to me? I promise I won't neglect you this time. I'll give you all the security and recognition you need. Please, come back to me." After a few days, Dexter has lost a lot of weight and looks really worn out, a stark contrast to his usual energetic self. It's the same person, but I just can't feel any affection for him anymore. All I have is impatience after everything that happened. I coldly reject him right then and there. "Dexter, I'm being clear, I don't like you anymore. Even if you break up with Luna, I won't look back." I noticed a flash of disappointment in his eyes, but before he could say anything, I cut him off. "Let's part on good terms, don't make me look down on you." I finished speaking and didn't care about his reaction anymore. I turned to the driver and told him to drive. Ethan was still waiting for me. The whole point of going out was to bring lunch to Ethan, and I couldn't let someone unrelated delay me. As the car pulled away slowly, I caught a glimpse of Dexter slumped on the ground, looking defeated like he had just lost all energy. It was pretty funny, but I wasn't concerned anymore. I just wanted to see Ethan as soon as possible.